let's get into it. Let's have our owners introduce themselves. Let's start with John Swaney. John, go ahead. Come off of you.
Very good. Thank you, Ken. All right. Well, I got the questions from Sheree. So the name of my business is Precision Signs and Imaging. We're located in Burnsville, Minnesota, which is on the South Metro of Minneapolis, St. Paul, a stone's throw from Mall of America. I've been in business about 8.5 years. I've incorporated in 9 years ago. The facility that we're currently in and that I just signed a lease extension is 1,800 square feet. We've got 3 employees. 2021 sales projection is about 600K. I would like it to have been higher, but last year kind of put a dent into that. Biggest customer or biggest project that I've had is probably the United States Army Reserve, and we did a large project in Phoenix, Arizona. I do work across the United States and Southern Canada. My background before becoming a Signworld owner was in international 5-star hospitality, where I developed and operated 5-star hotels, resorts, and private clubs. And I'd still be doing that today, but when my father passed away, I needed to get back to the Minneapolis area to be there for my mother. So I gave up my career and became a sign guy, and no regrets.
Okay, great. Adam Sokoloff. Adam, introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Adam Sokoloff. My name of my company is Sunrise Signs. We're a visual communications company that focuses on fleet and facility branding. We're located in Gloucester City, New Jersey, which is in the Philadelphia metro market. I'm going to be in business this July. I'll be 13 years. And we're in a 3,000 square foot facility, looking for something bigger, most likely to buy somewhere 7,000 to 10,000 square feet. We have 10 employees. Our sales projections for this year are 1.3 million. Biggest customer, biggest project, probably just ongoing fleet customers that we do 30 to 50 vehicles each year for. And my background is in retail operations.
Okay, thank you, Adam.
Sure.
And Mike Voling. Mike, introduce yourself.
Mike Voling, Georgetown, Texas, Georgetown Sign Company. About 2 years ago, I was in the same boat you guys are in, checking this all out. Signed my paperwork in end of June in 19. I'm excited about that because crossing that 2-year threshold for a small business is a huge, huge factor in the success of a company. So I'm really looking forward to that. So we opened our doors November of 19, just in time for beautiful COVID, which I'm sure will come up in different discussions. I've got 3,000 square feet, kind of broken into dirty construction, vehicle wrap area, and then office and printing. I currently have 4 full-time employees besides myself. I've got a part-time electrician and I've got a summer intern working for me. 2021 sales projections, I'm already at last year's bookings this year. I'm going to do between $500,000 and $600,000 this year.
Okay.
Biggest customer. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, biggest customer or biggest project is going to be probably a tie between our bank, which is a local bank, actually leveraging the Signworld network for that install up in Dallas, or it's with an installation contractor for a bunch of grocery stores. Both are giving me about the same amount of business. Background career, I've got a mechanical engineering degree, quickly moved into sales and marketing because I found building businesses to be much more exciting. I was in the traffic signal control world, so if you see these cameras looking down at you, that was me, but they were to get you through the light faster, not to give you a ticket. Always got to make that clarity. Early retired, got bored, went back, got basically an MBA in entrepreneurism. Had so much fun with that. I embarked on a doctorate program, which I'll be wrapping up next year, and decided to join the sign business.
Thank you, Dr. Mike. Jack Werner. Jack, tell us about your business and give us a couple of definitions.
I joined Signworld back in 1995. I started in 1,200 square feet with 1 employee, ended up in 5,000 square feet at 1.3 million in sales in the days before the internet when it was Yellow Pages. And we were more of a retail banner shop at that time. Signworld was morphed a lot. My largest customer was a regional developer for Subway that had 200 locations. I did about 250,000 a year annually with that one customer. My background before that was running a wholesale food distribution company. I then sold my business after 10 years, joined Ken at the corporate office to learn his end of the business, kind of a partnership arrangement. I finished buying Ken out 7 years ago, almost 8 now, and I've taken over as president and owner of Signworld. So when I speak today, if it goes to a question leading to my experience as a Signworld owner, I'll speak from that side. If it goes more to training and policy and supporting that, I'll speak from that perspective. 2 quick definitions for you. Signworld is not a franchise. We realize everything else you're looking at probably is a franchise. So we're not here to say that's good and bad, but we are different. We believe a franchise is appropriate if it's the repetitive sale of the same service or product every day for the rest of your life to a small core of customers, or to a large core of customers selling to masses. This is custom manufacturing with a small core of repeatable customers. So the rule book doesn't apply. The name brand doesn't apply. It's a fractured industry. So we operate a little bit differently as what we call an owner's alliance. There's no rules, there's no royalties. And I think a lot of Signworlds will tell you they not only like the sign business, they like the extra flexibility that the model gave. Please realize a lot of times people confuse us with printers. Printers do the paper or print on paper commodity items, brochures, catalogs, letterheads. We're doing the custom production, unusual size, unusual shapes, unusual materials, but it's also the application, installation afterwards. So the internet's our best friend bringing us leads, but we're not selling on the internet. We're looking for that custom customer that we can charge big margins and have better profits from.
Okay, thank you, Jack. Well, let's get into the questions. So Prabir, come off of mute. Go ahead, throw us a question.
My biggest question is, what are the challenges you face when you are employing the people to work for this, and especially when you have a lower wages people versus the high salaried people?
Okay, so Prabir, let's start out with what did they pay coming in the door? So John Sweeney, your number 1 guy coming in the door. What do you pay? What did you pay him? Your number 2, number 3. Go ahead, John.
Okay, and when I started, and again, got to realize this is 8.5 years ago, but I started with my first sign maker, graphic designer at $18 an hour. Subsequent to that, I pay a production manager about $50,000 a year, and then 22 an hour, 18 an hour, and $12 an hour for the current staff.
Okay, Adam Sokoloff, Adam, what are you paying top guy and on down currently?
Yeah, currently, so top guy, 65 base plus a bonus. That's my operations manager. And then we have graphic designers who are $20 to $24 an hour. And then we have installers that are anywhere from $15 to $18 an hour.
Okay. And Mike Voling?
Yeah, so my first employee ended up a little bit more expensive than I anticipated, but he was worth every penny. I was targeting 22 an hour, paid him 25, but he was really a jack of all trades. He could do it all. So I've now moved him into a quasi sales role, so he's making 55 plus commission. And then I've got, next guy would be at 18. I've got another one at 15, another one at 12. Different skill sets, different levels of experience.
Okay. And Jack Werner, maybe tell us what the average is for new owners today for their first person. Go ahead.
Well, first off, we're going to help you find a qualified journeyman sign maker that has 5 to 10 years of experience, has done it before elsewhere, and can do it for you. They can design it, they can print it, they can assemble it, they can install it. It's a career form, not a job. We have owners that have hired carefully and nurtured, and they have the original employee from 10 and 20 years ago. So you're not constantly having a hire and turnover, but like in any business, you hire for talent, you fire for behavior. So it's holding them accountable, not having them rob your culture of your business, and you're in charge. I think in current market today, we're looking at the low $20 an hour. Could be as low as 18, 19, 20. In some markets could be as high as 24, 25 and others, depending on the economy in that market.
Okay. Kevin, come off of mute. Go ahead, Kevin. Is this Kevin McKim?
Yes, thanks everyone. I'm really interested to hear more about the startup process and more importantly, what you think the keys to your success were during your first 2 to 3 years to take you from zero revenue to whatever you determine success to be.
Okay, well, we'll let Mike Bowling start out. Mike, who's just ready to hit his 2nd year anniversary. Why are you successful?
A couple different things. One, once I made the decision to go, I quickly laid out what were the long poles in the tent. Getting a place to live in, getting my corporate set up, getting the financing set up, I hit in marketing, and I started hitting all 3 from day 1. And that helped compress that time from signing the papers to opening up a shop. The other thing for me was the willingness to spend on pay-per-click. My budget's $800 to $1,000 a month, and that's some of the best money I spent. And I think the other thing is relentless networking. Just get out there, talk to people. You need pay-per-click to get you going, but you really want to transition into relationship-based selling sooner than later.
Adam Sokoloff, you had a rough first day, first few months because the whole world collapsed. Want to tell us about that?
Yeah, sure. So I was lucky enough to open 3 months before the stock market crashed in 2008. So if you can get through what we've just gone through now, you can get through anything, I'd say. But I think just ultimately, for reason for success, if there's a system, even though there's no rules, there is a system to follow, and that will help you, anybody get there for certain. Follow the system.
Okay. And John Swaney, your thoughts?
Okay, well, you've heard it before, but when right before I opened my doors, I was diagnosed with cancer. And I ended up going through chemotherapy for about 6 months after opening my door. So every 3 weeks, I would go and sit in the chemo chair for about 6 hours on a Friday and have the weekend to recover and back at work on Monday. So it was through the grace of God and the sign maker that I hired. He was, I think Mike had talked about, getting the right person in the beginning. And the guy that I had hired was just a superstar. I wish I still had him. He's up in Canada now in the Toronto area. So if there are any of the Canadian people, you might be able to chase this guy. But, so what, to me, it was the dedication and the drive and the saying that, no one's going to do it but myself. I got to, get up every morning and, put my boots on, get to work and hit the ground running. But it was, obviously, the strength of my current network that I had at the time, and really working the network and getting involved with a lot of different organizations like your local chambers of commerce, BNI, and Rotary. I'd already been a Rotarian anyway, so that was a given for me. So it's to me, it was just success is based on networking and the time that you put in your business.
Jack Werner, why were you successful in the first couple of years?
I think there's a lot of things that fall into it, but it's not working harder. It's working smarter, going after the right customers, learning the systems, following the Signworld plan, staying coachable, attending all the training that's available to you, and just delivering what you promise. Showing up for the appointment on time, delivering the quote expeditiously, standing firm with your commitments of when you'll deliver to the customer. That's an anomaly in today's world. So you do those right things. They're basic business 101, but if you follow them and follow our plan, it's there.
And I'll ditto what Jack just said, that if you just show up on time for the appointment and you deliver the product on time and on spec, you'll always be busy, always be busy. And when you're busy, then you raise your prices. Heather Rankin, Heather, come off of mute. Go ahead, Heather.
Thank you. I was wondering if you guys could give me a pro and a con of the business.
Okay. Mike Voling, what's the biggest pro? What's your biggest con?
Biggest pro is real simple. I would say it's short answer. It's my company. I can name it what I want, run it how I want, do it how I want, and I don't pay ongoing royalties. Those things are huge for me. The biggest con, it's work. It's not just going, grabbing a cup of coffee and having fun. It's, be prepared to work hard. But, once it starts going like it has this year, it's a lot more fun.
Okay. Adam, biggest pro, biggest con today.
Today is just, being the repeat business that comes with being in business for almost 13 years, where you're going to have 60-70% of your business be repeat at this point. And that's still growing. So I'd say that's the biggest pro. Con, again, it's absolutely a marathon and not a sprint. You just can't put your head down.
Okay. John Swaney, biggest pro, biggest con today.
I think the biggest pro is when people seek you out for what you do because they have heard that you do it and you do it well. That makes me smile every time I talk to someone and ask them, how did you find Precision Signs and Imaging? The biggest con, I guess, is for me, and I take a lot of things, personally. And when I go up on a job and not hear back from positively from the client, and then maybe a month or two later see the sign up done by my competitor, that really cuts me. So I try to go back and find out, why did I lose that? If it was on price, well, it doesn't really bother me that much. But if it was another reason, then it might bother me.
Jack Werner, biggest pro, biggest con.
No, I think it goes back to what Mike said. It's my business to run my way, but having a huge support network to support me to make it successful. Biggest con, I wish I'd done it sooner. You're going to work as hard at this as anything you did in your own life, in previous life. The only difference, the owner appreciates every amount of effort because you're the owner.
Okay. Heather, is your husband with you? Does he have a question? Rich, are you there?
He is not with me right now, but I will be able to show him this later.
Okay. Whale, come off of mute. Hello, Whale. Go ahead, Whale.
My name is Wale.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
It's okay. It's okay.
I got it now.
Most people call it Will when they see it for the first time. Well, success is success. And I'm sure all the people that will appear here are the successful ones. In this business, have you had non-success? And how have those been?
Okay, Jack Werner, Jack, our president, I'll let Jack answer that. Go ahead, Jack.
Well, but before I do, Ken, let's turn to the owners that are in the system. Adam, you've been around 13 years. Is there a ton of people that have failed, or only a few that you know of? And if so, why do you think they failed?
Yeah, 13 years. Maybe on one hand, think of anybody who possibly has failed. Typically, what I've seen or heard is that they just stayed away from the other owners, not taking part in the things that Signworld offers, such as the convention or the sales and marketing classes, and just trying to do it on their own instead of following the system that's available and provided.
Mike Voling, have you heard any?
Haven't really heard of others. Well, I know I've had 2 other sign shops in the area go out of business last year. And, be honest, last year was a struggle with COVID hitting. I leveraged every ounce of what I had in me to keep this place alive. And I'm glad I did, because this year's been a hell of a ride in a good way. But at the end of the day, it's about cash management and following the training.
Mike, I was confused. Did you say you heard, two Signworld owners that went on the business
Not
last year?
Signworld, local competitors.
Oh, local
Non-Signworld.
competitors. So you drove them out of business, local competitors. Okay. John Sweeney, your thoughts?
Well, in my market area, there's been a few that have left the business, but they all left by selling their business, right? And one of them to a very large sign company out of Fargo, North Dakota. So, the thing is that not being successful, or is that being, successful to the point of having a good exit plan?
Okay. And Jack, go ahead with your thoughts.
So over the 33 years in business, we believe we have better than a 90% success rate, less than a 10% failure rate. That tells you several things. One, the system must work or wouldn't be that high. Two, we're pretty selective on who we let in. It's not a wide open door. As much as you're interviewing us, we're trying to interview you, bring in the people that enhance the program. But it also tells you we're human. There's people that have joined, and later on we go, shame on us, we should have seen some warning signs. But I'm sure in corporate life, you've hired people, look great on the resume and didn't do the job. But as Adam said, the number one thing, they're not coachable. They're off doing willy-nilly, and if they're willy-nilly, it's working great, keep doing it. But if it's not, you got to come back and be coachable. But the system works.
Wally, on the other end of the spectrum, we've had resales, single location, in excess of $3 million. Last year, during the virus, we had 2 resales, one at 2 million and another at 1.6 million. Again, one location. So the success opportunity is there. It's there. Austin, come off of mute, Austin. Go ahead.
Yeah, good day, ladies and gents. Okay, my question is, we have a unique opportunity here where we've been given liberty not to go with the Signworld name, which is very unique. And my question is, since Signworld is a very well-known name, what do you guys recommend? I'm thinking it's better for one to go with the Signworld name, but what do you guys recommend?
Jack, you want to start out with that, please?
First off, we do not allow the name Signworld. We used to, but several state governments came to us and said, if you allow for a common name, we might have to call you a franchise, and then you might have to have other rules to abide by. And we said, there's no value to that. So we encourage you to pick a name that's either based on your skill set or based on geography for internet marketing purposes. And we'll counsel you on that as you get deep in the process of what is the best route for you to go for your name of your business. But I think most Signworld owners appreciate the idea that they pick and choose their own custom name. And by that, they can then eliminate certain types of customers, certain types of projects, and follow the customer regionally and nationally. If we had a common name, you lose contact with the customer because the customer would be confused thinking you're all the same company.
Okay. So Adam Sokoloff, real quick, short answer, why Sunrise Signs?
Like it, flows off the tongue. Like the outdoors. That's all there is to it.
Okay, and Mike Bowling, obviously it's geography.
It's geography, which also makes it easy to remember. And when somebody types in sign company near me, I tend to come up right near the top, or sign company in Georgetown. I'm right there on the top.
And John Sweeney, why Precision Signs and Imaging?
I wanted to have a name that evoked, quality and on point, and then thought that okay, we're in the sign business, so I wanted to make sure that signs was involved in the name. But imaging was something that I thought was important too, because it goes along with my tagline, where it's precision signs and imaging, because image is everything.
Okay. And Dan Werner, why did your dad name the sign company 3D Signs?
That's a good question. He says it's because of my brothers and I, Dennis, myself, Dan, and David. But it was because we wanted to stand out from the rest. Everybody was doing 2D stuff, and we took on 3D stuff.
Jack, do you want to elaborate on that?
Well, that's the story. It fit both to making it personal, but also to the mission of outstanding signs.
So named after his three sons. Okay. Diane Hudson's. Diane, come off of mute. Go ahead.
Should the owner hire a marketing and sales person to begin with, or does he take that role, or how does that evolve?
Okay, Mike Voling, did you hire a sales and marketing person to begin with, or is that your role?
You know, it's a little bit of both. I hired Measured Marketing, which is one of the Signworld suppliers, to handle my website, my social media, all that aspect of it. My pay-per-click campaigns, all that is outsourced to them. Localized marketing, sales, all that, it primarily was me initially, but I've actually transitioned my initial hire, because he's got a great personality for it, into a sales role. So he can meet with the customer and just take a scope of a project from small, make it medium, or medium, make it large.
Okay. Adam, what are you doing?
I handle the larger business development, and then some of the other staff here handle the smaller projects.
And when did that happen in your 13 years?
Just over time. I mean, I'd say the first 5 to 7 were primarily me, and then just started getting everybody else involved.
And John Sweeney?
Well, you know, one of the things that I demand of every staff member that comes through my door that I hire is that I tell them, are you, do you have any experience in sales? And if they say no, then I either say your other qualities will outweigh that flaw, or I look for someone else. Because as far as I'm concerned, everybody that works for us is a salesperson. Now, marketing is completely different. We know that, and marketing can be done from an outsourced company, or you can do it yourself through your organizations that you're a member of, like BNI, Chambers of Commerce, etc.
Okay, Jack, your thoughts?
Over 90% of our owners have never done sales before. We're really looking for your operations skill set more than your sales skill set. So the owner is a salesperson, but it's a very consultative sales process. We're not out there trying to convince people to buy signs. We're looking for customers where they have the need, and we're saying we can manage projects. So it's your consultative skill set that you're bringing to the table. So the owner's going to do that to begin with. Over time, hiring staff to help. The internet's going to drive a lot of the business. The networking is going to drive it. There's a 2-year sales and marketing coaching program that makes you better and better every week that you'll attend for the first 2 years in business. So there's lots and lots of training to help you understand how to market the business. We've done this for 33 years, and we continue to enhance and embellish the program.
Okay. Grant Bullington. Grant, do you have a question? Hello, Grant. Lenoy, come off of mute, Lenoy. Lenoy T, are you there?
Yes.
Go ahead, Lenoy. Go ahead.
Okay, my question is, for the first comers, how long will it take to get the first client?
How long did it take to get the first customer?
Yeah.
Well, to our panel, did you have customers before you even opened up? Did you have orders before you even opened up? Mike Bowling, and how did you get them?
Yeah, my first customer was actually the electrician doing work on my build out. He came in, he had a new truck, he needed the decals with all the license information. I didn't have any printer or anything, so I contacted Saber Sign, another Signworld person. She made it for me. I went down, picked it up, came up here. Heck, I even put it on his truck, which was scary.
Adam, did you have customers before you opened up? How did you handle it? And how did they find you? How did you find them?
Yeah, I'd say they were there when we opened. I had put it out to all of my contacts about my new endeavor, and a buddy of mine introduced me to his friend who was a VP at a local credit union. We started branding their trucks and doing some other signage for them, and they're still a customer today.
Great. John Sweeney, did you have customers before you opened? How'd they find you? How'd you find them?
Absolutely. I had customers before I opened, and it was because of networking. I joined BNI in October. I opened my doors February 1st. So I had a lot of business, and I was farming that business out to local Signworld owners in my area. And not just small jobs. I mean, I did one $15,000 job to a local Signworld owner because I wasn't open yet.
Okay, way to go. Jacqueline?
In the 3 months from signing contract to doors open, you're trying to accomplish two goals. Every hour you're not in training build out, you're trying to, one, build a book of customers that are willing to wait. So when your sign maker starts, you're busy from day one. For the customers that can't wait, the other sign rules will make it for you wholesale. So marketing starts the day you sign a contract. Again, I've got 3 slideshows that I'm going to start showing. There's no audio to them. They'll go on in the background. We'll continue with questions. The first one just goes to show you the facilities inside and out, so you can see what operations look like. The second slideshow goes to what is a sign. The first part of that one is what we make in-house with the staff and equipment that we start with. Second part of that is showing you outsource projects that you'll outsource in the beginning until you get deeper in the business and bring in that equipment. Third part of that slideshow is showing you some things that you wouldn't even think of as a sign that becomes part of our portfolio. Then the last slideshow shows you the wall of fame. Some of the bigger projects Signworld owners get involved with after they get deeper in the business.
Okay, great. So Ronald Link, Ronald, come off of mute.
A lot of good questions. Yeah, mine is tied into timeline. I think you answered part of it too as well. But I'd like to understand, once you sign the paperwork, how long does it take to get the business open, and how long does it take to turn a profit and hit your income goals?
Okay, so Mike Voling, how many months in business before you broke even cash on a monthly basis?
It's been a roller coaster up until this year. Some months I'd be making money, some months I wouldn't, but that was directly impacted by COVID. I mean, to put it in perspective, opened my doors in November, so I think the question was from signing paper to there. 4 months I was open. March was my ramp up month. I had 40K in commitments in March when COVID hit. I ended up doing 13. So obviously a huge impact in COVID, but I also had $40,000 months last year, and I had $5,000 months. But that's part of when you're starting up in a pandemic. It's all bets are off. But this year, yeah, every month it's been cash flow positive.
Okay. Adam?
So we had, let's say, time to open from signing, I think it was about 5 months. We went cash flow positive in 90 days.
Okay. And John Sweeney?
Yeah, it was about 3 months for cash flow positive, and probably half a year before I started showing a profit.
Okay. And Jack?
Our average to cash positive is 6 months. Modest income year 1, better year 2. Hopefully getting back to corporate income 18 to 30 months.
Okay. Brad Thomas. Brad, come on from you. Go ahead.
Yes. Could you comment on your digital marketing program? You indicate that a lot of customers come from the internet. Could you describe what that process is like?
Okay, so Mike Voling, we'll let you start out, but Dan Werner, at the end, you might want to chime in with a couple of comments. Go ahead, Mike Voling.
Yeah, digital marketing initially is going to be really important for you because that's how you're going to find your initial customers. For me, I use Measure Marketing. They manage my website. They do all my social media planning. They do all the implementation on it. They also manage all the pay-per-click. I tell them the budget and they go. There's one thing I would have done earlier was ramp up that budget faster. I first started off, hey, let's just do a couple $100, get my feet wet. Pretty quickly, I was up $800 to $1,000 a month. But the digital marketing is really critical in this day and age. And it's really important that you align everything you're doing up together. So you don't have your social media saying one thing, your website saying something else, your email blast, if you have anything going on, saying something else. Make sure that they are aligned and are building towards the strategy of where you want to be in 2 years.
Okay, Adam, website, internet, does it work?
Absolutely. It's of our non-repeat new customers, it's at least 75% of new, and it's an absolute must. Whether it's pay-per-click, email marketing, SEO, social media, all the above.
John Sweeney?
Well, I think that number one is what's really imperative is a award-winning website. You got to have that right out of the box. And when I started, I don't think that we had Measure Marketing or Mike My Words Media, but I understand that those two organizations have been tremendously successful for new Signworld owners. To me, it might have been pricey, but from what I hear, it's well worth the expenditure of the money. But I tend to try to go in an opposite direction, and that's where I try to bid new construction with construction companies. And because I happen to be a minority-owned business, I'm a military veteran, so I'm a VOSB, and contractors need to have 10 to 15% of their subcontractors as minority-owned. That's my niche, and that's the one that if I work that successfully, I'll double my revenue.
Great, good to know that. Jack, your thoughts, and then again, Dan, you might want to give us some website internet thoughts. Go ahead, Jack.
I'm going to let Dan answer because he really has that better than anybody can.
Go ahead, Dan. Dan's our Vice President of Operations. Dan?
Sure, and Jack, it may just be me, but it looks like your slide is stuck. If you want to give that a click and move that on. I think Mike and Adam and John answered the question quite well. Really, what our digital marketing strategy is built on is getting a website produced very quickly, getting that launched roughly 6 to 8 weeks before the new business opens. And then from that, very aggressively doing search engine optimization and organic work, as well as pay-per-click advertising, media creation, pictures, videos, and then social media efforts. And then tying that in with things like Google My Business and stuff that can be done directly with the search engines that produce the results. And if we do that regularly, we do it consistently, and we do it aggressively, it does produce the results. The partners are there to handle that development, to handle that ongoing marketing, but we do have some owners like Adam who do take a lot of that on themselves. And it's just a matter of what's the right mix of work that's going to generate the results that you're looking for, whether it's product mix, it's customer mix. There's lots of ways to tie that in, but those internet efforts start early, they happen often, and from that, you get to see the results from it.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Chris and Tammy. Chris, do you want to go first?
Yeah, thanks. So our question revolves around at what sales levels did you hire your second sign makers and third and fourth, if that were the case? We've seen a lot of different numbers thrown out there.
Okay. Mike Voling, at what sales numbers did you hire your second employee and third employee?
Let's see. Hired the second guy at the end of May, and I think that was a $20,000 to $25,000 a month. But it was more based on making sure I could get the business going because I was starting to spend too much time in the field. So it was a strategic decision to bring him out there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Adam, what point did you hire, sales level did you hire your second and your third employee?
It seems to run about every $100,000 in sales increase.
100,000?
Yeah, I have 10 employees. We're going to do 1.3 million.
Okay.
So it's somewhere in there.
Adam, how many of them are in production? Take out the support people. How many in production?
How many are in production? We have 3 in production, 4 in installation.
So you're at about 175 per production person.
For production, yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
John Sweeney?
It was probably around the $200,000 level that we added the second one, but I think it was more than a dollar amount. I think it was more of the the level of business and being able to get things done and get things done on a timely basis. Like you said, Ken, from the very beginning, you got to be responsive. You got to be on time and on budget when you deal with people. And the workload to me was, would dictate whether I was looking for another staff member versus the dollar amount of revenue.
Jack Werner?
I ran more on an open door policy. If the right person came along, I hired him, whether I needed to or not, and I backfilled to make sure that each of them were busy and productive. But effectively came out about $200,000 per production person.
And I will ditto that what we teach as our benchmark is every production employee should be worth $200,000 in gross sales. That's the benchmark. Tammy, do you have a question, Tammy?
Sure. I'm interested in learning more about what the owners are experiencing from a direct material cost percentage.
Okay, so cost of raw materials only, percentage-wise, Adam, cost of goods, raw materials only.
25%.
25%. And Mike Voling?
25 to 35%, depending on type of project.
And John Sweeney?
Yeah, I'd have to concur. So it's about that, but I don't know about the other guys, but we're getting price increases like crazy. Lumber, steel, aluminum, everything is up. I think steel is up double over last year. Lumber is up 2 to 3 times in some places, and aluminum was up 40%. So we got to find a way to try to pass that cost on to our clients without.
And Jack, overall cost of raw materials?
In-house production should be 25% cost of raw materials.
Okay. Bob Terrell, go ahead, Bob. Come on from you. Bob Terrell, or go ahead, Bob.
I'm here. I guess a good question for me is, what was your biggest obstacle for you all? I know we talked about pros and cons, but maybe it's kind of leading the same way. Right, to start up, what was your biggest obstacle? And I know you're talking about quantities of people and the numbers per unit and per sales, but your typical startup of personnel when you start the business, maybe I missed that, but I didn't hear that when we started. So those two kind of questions is what I have. Okay,
Bob, you start with one experienced sign maker, you and one experienced sign maker. Okay. We Signworld, we will help you find that person. We will interview them. We will test them. We will recommend you send them down the street to work for another Signworld owner for a day or two to evaluate them. And then once you hire them, they can go to all of our training programs, no extra charge. Okay. So you start with one. Was that your question, or did you?
That's one of the questions. I think the other one's, what's the biggest obstacle?
Okay, correct.
Startup.
Okay. Mike Bowling, 2 years ago, what was your biggest obstacle, biggest challenge?
The biggest challenge I had in getting my business going was COVID. I mean, it's just reality. The other aspect is hiring additional employees. The first one you spend a lot of time on because you got to have the right person. It's not just skill set, the right person, the right culture, the right mentality. You're going to be working extraordinarily close with that person. So take your time, get it right. Signworld team's great and giving second opinions on that. The biggest obstacle would be, at that point, getting the right people in the company that support the culture I want to have.
And Mike, how many months were you in business before you hired your second employee?
Opened the door November 1. I brought him on in early June, so 6, 7, 8 months.
Okay. And Adam, biggest challenge in the beginning, and did you start with one, and how long before you brought on your second employee?
Sure. Started with one. It was a year and a half, 2 years brought on the second. Then again, I think that ties into the biggest challenge, which at the time was the recession we were facing. So economic factors that are beyond your control.
Okay. And John Sweeney, did you start with one? How long before you brought on your second one, and biggest challenge?
Well, I started with one, and again, he was a superstar. He did web design, graphic design, sign making, construction. He was actually had been building houses when I hired him. Unfortunately, I lost him after about 7 months because he relocated to Canada. And so then the next one I brought on, I had on for about a year and a half before I brought on my second one after him.
Okay, and biggest challenge?
Well, the biggest challenge for me was a sign maker on board that was everything I ever dreamed of, and only to lose him after 6, 7 months. It wasn't like he was unhappy. He was happy doing what he did. It was just his family situation. He was married to a Canadian, and she got pregnant and wanted to go back to Toronto to have the baby in Canada. So I lost him. That was a tremendous challenge to me because, again, I had started this business and started it going through chemotherapy, and this guy hung on with me. He did everything I ever wanted him to do. It is so important to hire a good person out of the box.
Okay. Jack Werner, your thoughts?
I opened November 1st, hired number 2 on January 2nd, 2 months in. Hired number 3 at 4 months in. There's a talent pool out there. You can't grow, you can't make the money you want to make with yourself in once. You got to go past that. Biggest challenge in the beginning is learning all the different ways signs can be made, learning who are all the right customers and filtering that out and building process and systems so that projects go through quickly and without mistakes.
Okay. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it right. Effie Michael, are you there? Come off of mute. Did I say your name correct? Effie Michael, are you there? Okay. We've gotten through everyone one round, so if anyone has more questions, you can go to the bottom of your screen and the far right where it says Q&A. If you want to type in more questions while the slideshow continues, please go ahead.
Grant has a question, actually.
Grant Bullington. Grant, go ahead.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate the insight everybody shared here. Even with all the best support in the world, we never always get it right. And I'm just curious with the owners, if you could go back and travel back to when you first started, is there any one thing that you would do differently to avoid a mistake that you made?
Okay. Mike Bowling, what would you do differently?
I'm a firm believer you make mistakes for a reason. You make mistakes to learn from them. If you don't learn, you're not innovating. I'm sitting here thinking about it. The one thing I would say do differently than I did is I probably could have done the B&I route a little quicker instead of waiting until September, October. I could have done it earlier, but I also ended up in a great group. So that would be the only thing I can think of.
Okay. Adam, what would you have done differently?
I would have got heavily invested in my internet presence sooner, probably about a year, at least a year sooner, and also would have gotten the necessary support staff outside of the business, the right CPA, bookkeeper, etc.
Okay. John Sweeney, what would you have done differently?
I think that, hindsight's always 2020, but if I could do it all over again, I think I would have, right out of the box, I would have made the investment to bring on an internet marketing firm like Measure Marketing or Mark My Words.
Okay, Jack Werner, what would you have done differently?
One thing that I teach in class now, we're so anxious to go chase the new stranger lead that we're not nurturing the existing leads we have. The people that already believe in us, that aren't going to ask about price, that can leverage us to their friends and grow the business deeper. No customer should be a dead end.
Okay, Sheree, give us the next question, please.
Next question, how does the corporation make money and support owners since there are no royalties?
Okay, Jack, go ahead.
In the initial investment, there's a little room for profit. It feels fair. We're only charge it once. We then run leaner than a franchise. We don't have all the overhead and expenses of a franchise. We don't have the accountants tabulating taking royalties. That's expensive to do, not all profit. Not everybody pays royalties like they're supposed to. The attorneys to chase royalties are expensive. Our contract is 6 pages written in English, so our filing fees with states and provinces is minuscule compared to a franchise filing that 200-300-page FTD document every year. And we don't have the field US police the rule book. Instead, the owners are bought into peer support. Mostly ongoing training is done to the network. So we run leaner. And then as you expand the business and have an appetite for more equipment, we're selling CNC routers, engraving equipment, flatbed printers, channel letter binning equipment, bucket trucks. So we're a healthy, solvent company, despite the fact that there's no royalty. We just figured out a different way to do it.
Okay, thank you, Jack. Sheree?
This is a great session with lots of experience in the room. I wonder how your pricing remains competitive in a local area and also remain gainful for the business.
Okay, so starting out, we give you an elaborate pricing software system, and we give you all the training that you need or want on that system. But Adam, tell us about pricing in your local marketplace.
I mean, once you, as it was said earlier, once you do what you say, provide the services that you say you're going to provide, and you keep having happy customers come back, price doesn't become a big issue. And competition, they're not seeking out competition at that point.
Okay. Mike Voley, your thoughts?
Yeah, 2 things. I don't worry about the competition. I let them worry about me. Second thing, you're going to find pretty quickly how competitive you are in the marketplace, particularly as a newbie, because you're going to find the projects you win. You're going to find the projects you don't win. And generally speaking, as a newbie, you're not going to win a project potentially primarily based on price. So as an example, like in my area, vehicle wraps are a little bit more price competitive than other stuff. So I've got a lower margin on those. I found that with trial and error. But you can really see your win-loss ratios, and that really guides you in the right direction.
Okay, John Sweeney.
Well, I think one of the first things that we did when we opened up was we did competition shopping. So we tried to get some basic goods that we were going to sell right out of the box. Yard signs, banners, post and panel signs. And we wanted to know what everybody in our market area, or at least the ones that we thought that we'd go head to head with, would be charging for those type of items, and so we could price accordingly. Going forward through the next 8 years, I think that we do a lot of bidding, and when we bid, I don't want to win 100% of the bids, because if I do, I'm leaving money on the table. I don't want to win zero bids, because then I know I'm pricing myself too much. So I'm looking at that 60 to 65% success rate in my bidding, knowing that my pricing is the right pricing.
Okay, Sheree, Jack.
There are some projects that it is a bid process, but as much as possible, we're trying to teach you to go after the customer, that it's not out shopping, negotiating. There's enough customers out there that might ask about price just to know what the budget is, but then buy from who they believe in, or the customer just says, take care of it, get it off my plate. That's the customer base we're trying to go after. That's why we're located back in the business park, avoiding people spending their own money, but having people spend company money.
Okay. We have a question from Chris and Tammy. What was the first piece of expansion equipment you purchased? Adam, how long were you in business before you bought another piece of equipment? And what was it?
2 or 3 years. There was additional computer workstations.
And then how about a big piece of equipment?
Additional replacing a printer for new technology, going from EcoSolvent to latex, and then expanding printers. So in 13 years, we've purchased 3 printers at this point.
But how long were you in business before you purchased printer number 2?
Oh, it was at least 8 or 9 years.
Okay, Mike Voling, have you purchased any new equipment 2 years in business?
Well, immediately on opening, I did purchase a used panel saw and substrate cutter. Now, when I initially signed up, I went ahead and upgraded to a rollover laminating table, which I really enjoyed as a first-time sign owner with 1 employee. But I've recently bought a used roll-to-roll laminator. I just did that earlier this year.
And how much did you spend on the panel saw and the other piece?
I think it was $1,500 combined for those 2 things.
Okay. John Sweeney, how long were you in business before you bought more equipment, and what was it?
It was probably 4 months, and I bought a Sawtrax panel saw. And
how much?
I got it new, but it was scratch and dent. So a $2,500 panel saw delivered to my door for $1,200.
Okay, and then how long before you bought your next major piece of equipment, like a second printer or so on?
And at this point, I have not added to any additional equipment. Part of the reason is in my market area, I've got some great wholesale subcontractors that I can outsource a lot of stuff to. I've even asked Adam to quote vinyl wraps for me on a wholesale basis. So, I mean, I could go out and buy a new printer, but if I can get the printing done at a such a low cost, then why I decided I just didn't want to go ahead and spend the money on any capital expenditures. I am in the market, however, for a panel van that I can put a ladder on top.
Okay, thanks for the note about Adam. Adam, in your best year, how many other Signworld owners did you do business with, meaning a joint project where everybody made a profit? Adam?
With 35, 40.
35, 40 other Signworld owners in a given year that you work on projects together.
Yeah, we do the printing, and we ship them the printed panels, and they install them for us.
Okay. Jack, your thoughts?
There's the beauty of the business is that the initial equipment has enough capacity. We've got operation over $1 million in revenue, original equipment. Some will never buy more equipment. Some want to stay more shallow and wide. Others want to go deep and narrow. Many owners, 3-4 years in business, will bring in a CNC router, engraving equipment, channel letter bending equipment, or a bucket truck to do the installation work. Or we have some that, after a few years, eliminate the staff and do more of a broker operation. So there's many, many different directions this business can go, either adding more equipment or never adding equipment.
Okay, we've run out of time. We still have a couple more questions. Jack, shall we keep going?
Oh, go ahead. Let's not take any more, but ask the ones that are there.
Okay, so we'll take these last 2 questions. So Prabir has a killer of a question here, so get ready. He wants to do a SWOT, which is a strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat analysis. Can you give 2 points on each? So Dr. Mike Voling, we'll start with you. What are 2 strengths, 2 weaknesses, 2 opportunities, and 2 threats?
Yeah, I'd say 2 strengths are you're small, so you're nimble. You're going to be responsive. So I think those are 2 very big strengths there. And I'm specifically thinking as a new sign owner. Weaknesses, you don't know what you don't know. And then the other aspect is, are you going to be fiscally strong enough to make it through any challenges that come up? Opportunities, huge. you're going to be doing so many different sign projects. It's fun, especially in the beginning. I never thought I'd do a Food Network truck within the first month, but I did. I think the other opportunity is there is a room to grow this business nicely. And the threats, well, you're a small business. Can you run a small business? Do you have the skills? Do you have the knowledge? Do you have the desire? It's going to take all three. Some can be learned, some you have to have yourself. And then the other threat I would put out there, look, there's going to be competition. Don't be paranoid about them, but just recognize they're out there.
Mike, very well said on everything. You mentioned opportunity to grow the business to whatever you want. What's your goal? What's your goal before you retire? How big of a business do you want to grow and grow sales?
No, I want to take it somewhere between 1 and 2 million, or bigger if I can do it. You know, the key for that would be doing it in the next 5 to 10 years for me. But the other key that I'm looking at is how do I make sure that in that time period, I am not the linchpin for the business? Because the sooner I can get out of being the linchpin for the business, the more valuable my business becomes.
Okay, great. Adam.
Hey.
2 strengths, 2 weaknesses, 2 opportunities, 2 threats.
I'll give you one. I'll give you one of each. Well, strength, I think just the biggest strength is the 2 things. I'll give you 2 there. The value of the owners network, a huge strength. Also, the consultative nature of how we sell in this business, huge competitive advantage. Weakness is our own challenges, getting beyond them, and hiring for our own challenges. Opportunities are vast. We're at 1.3 million. We're working on a couple opportunities that are 2,000 and 4,000 vehicles. So that would instantly double and triple the business. So there's huge opportunities out there in this market. Threats, I mean, I think it's just stay on top of what's changing in the world. There's always going to be some sort of threat out there.
And Adam, you're still a very young man. So what's your long-term goal before you retire? Before you retire, what do you want to do?
I'd love to be a $3 or $4 million at least a year.
Okay. John Sweeney.
Well, you know, I've done many SWOT analysis in my prior career, but I think that, you know, I always like to break things down, and I use 3 categories: product, financial, and human resources. So you could do a SWOT analysis on each one of those, but you know, I mean, there's, you know, in every year it's going to be different. Every year it's going to be different. So you have to stay on top of it. So, you know, I mean, I'm not going to go into my own particular strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities and threats, but because I can't give you more information than what Mike and Adam have already given. But, you know, again, when you do it though, you have to look at your product, you have to look at financial, and you have to look at human resources, and then you have to look at your competition.
Okay. Jack?
You know, strengths is, as Adam said, it's the power of the network, but it's also the coaching that we try and do to keep you working on the business, not working in the business. Most people are not working on the business. They're busy working in the business. So it's that keeping you in it. You know, weaknesses are probably more personal, inherent in you, and you got to hire to your weaknesses and build a team. Opportunities, there's more signs in the world than there's people. The limit of the business is really your own bandwidth, so it's building processes again. And the last one was threats. You know, I think the Signworld owners that have been hurt in a down economy are the ones that were too narrow in the customer base. In 2008, the ones that were hurt were more involved with home building, and the home building industry kind of crashed. In this period here with COVID, I think the ones that were more involved with retail and restaurants and office buildings, they were just hit. So keeping some diversity to your mix, I think it's important to avoid having that threat.
Okay, we have one last question, and the question is really for you, Jack, and then we'll let you close it out to our panel members, John and Adam and Mike, thank you very much for giving up your precious time today. Jack Werner, how many minority owners does Signworld currently have? And how do you support what may seem as their peculiar challenges?
You know, we've got a number of minority businesses in our business. Some are female-owned minorities. Some are American Indian minorities. Some have come from other countries. So there's a number of different ones. And, you know, we encourage you, as John has done, to get yourself registered as a minority business. There's lots of great products can be done, not just government product, but big business because of the tax advantages they get from that. We encourage owners that are a minority to meet with other minority owners and learn the advantages of what they've done. So we're doing a lot to encourage that. You know, whether you're a minority or you're just anybody, we all come with strengths and weaknesses. So that's what we're trying to do. It's help you fill in where you're weak. You know, the HR guy needs help in sales. The sales guy needs help in finance. The finance guy needs help in marketing. The marketing person needs help in logistics, and on and on. So it's this peer network that we built because owners come from all different backgrounds. As far as today, thank you all for attending. Hope this has been helpful for you. Mike, John, and Adam, we appreciate your busy day and the fact we took time out of it to be here. We'll have another webinar just like this on Wednesday, June 23rd, same time with a different panel of owners, so attending that is valuable. We have Discovery Days once a month. They're still done by Zoom. We can't group yet, so we have a Discovery Day next week, Friday, June 11th. The following one is July 9th. It's not a decision day. It's just a very good deep dive day and a lot deeper than this. We go for 7 hours, each hour being a different format, but taking breaks every hour. So we'll get back to Dan or Ken or myself, or whoever you've been working with in this process. Let's figure out if Signworld's the right fit for you or if you need to go another direction. We're here to help you. We're not here to convince you. Thank you all. Have a great day. Stay safe and stay healthy.